For the vendors coming into this region, what are the problems that the end users are facing? What do these vendors need to come in and solve?
Realistically, the one most simple fact is education and motivation. The end user needs to be educated about the features, benefits of a product and motivated to use it. And that simple phrase covers all the multitude of problems between the vendor and the end user. So the vendor's got to get the message of his product, his values, his benefits into that end user. And he's got a lot of people between him and that customer, especially if it's in one of the GCC countries, they may not be active. So it's really tough for that vendor to focus on the little bits of work to understand why his product is a little bit more expensive than his competitors. And in the Middle East, we have this lovely term, last price, which always comes back. And that's that education and motivation. That it really is the biggest problem that the vendors face. And it's one that they often pay the least attention to. They think they can do it with an advert, or maybe one seminar every 4 years in a roadshow, and maybe a special spiff day or promotion for the distributors. So that would be the number one.
One message that the vendors are spending a lot of time on in Western Europe and the US is the whole concept of green IT and efficient computing. Is that a message that's relevant in the Middle East at the moment?
It's becoming very relevant, okay? If you look at the general Middle East, Dubai, as usual, is driving forward with a series of initiatives launched by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed, and he has set a goal to be environmentally friendly city by 2015. This is causing a mind shift within a lot of government ministries, within a lot of the larger enterprise accounts, to be aware of environmental issues, first of all. Secondly, if you talk about green IT, you're talking about 3 steps realistically. First step is designing IT to be green. Second point is using IT efficiently. Third step is disposing of IT equipment ethically. And the problem there is the fact that in the rest of the world, Western Europe, the cost of running a data center is growing so fast as data centers get so complicated that the actual operating expenses is now exceeding the capital cost of building the data center. So $1 million invested in a server room. In the USA already, it's costing more than $1 million a year to run it. Now, down here, people have not quite grasped this concept yet, that it falls into an understanding of terms that we use called total cost of ownership, return on the investment. But the point is that as servers become more complex and become more compact, they require more power. That power needs to get from the electricity supply to the computer chip. The problem is the computer chip then also gets hot. So the data center problem is not just how much electricity is the computer using, it's also how much heat it is generating and how much heat has to be removed from that piece of equipment. So you get the problem that you're putting in to a single rack up to 30 kilowatts of power to run blade servers, to run some advanced storage equipment. Now, 30 kilowatts is the equivalent of 30 electric heaters in good old UK in the middle of winter. And that heat, that energy's gone in, and by the laws of physics, it stays there until you take it out. So you get its double whammy of cost. So if you have not designed your data center or server room efficiently, you suddenly find that it's a lot more expensive than you expected. And if you haven't designed it with that cooling problem in mind, you're going to get a very nasty surprise as servers fail because they overheated. So understanding green IT is not being environmentally friendly, it's designing it to be efficient in energy usage, to be efficient in thermal management, and that saves you money, which also helps save the environment.
So it's not just environmental benefits, it's business benefits.
Pure and simply business benefits, okay? It's efficiencies. Sure, talk about carbon footprints, but running costs of the data center, there's some fantastic results published by people like EYP, Mission Critical Facilities. HP themselves have figures on their websites. But 30% of the energy you put into a data center actually just goes on cooling, which is an awful lot of power and energy being wasted. So that green IT, it's the design of your data center. The manufacturers, it is the design of their IT systems to be more efficient and to use less power and energy and create less heat. So that's really some messages getting through to a lot of the large users here. We're seeing a lot of people redesigning, starting to pay for consultants to design their IT systems. The largest enterprise account in the Middle East is Aramco. They're swamped with consultants helping them to design this stuff efficiently. Okay. The second point is the usage of your IT equipment. Everyone's got a computer on the desk at work. You have a screensaver and you go home and you leave it switched on because it's too much hassle booting it up in the morning. Well, you're doubling the cost of using the electricity. You're doubling the damage to the environment. So simple software installed on the enterprise network to switch non-critical machines off overnight and reboot them automatically at a certain time in the morning is green IT. It's saving you money and it saves power consumption. Finally, the third part of green IT is the disposal of it. What happens to that dead printer 6 months after warranty? What do you do with it? You throw it in the bin, okay? You throw your old computer away when it no longer works very well, or you've upgraded so far, your hard disk space has run out, you put everything onto your new computer. What do you do with that old machine? You throw it in the bin. Okay? Here in the Middle East, those bins are collected. Sometimes you'll see little guys on bicycles taking pieces out. Those units are sent to scrapyards. They are then shipped to places in India and China, where these entire villages have been taken over by children taking components off of the circuit boards. The circuit boards and the components are melted down for recycling the precious metals. There's a lot of gold in these boards, but they also contain a lot of poisonous items. There's a lot of mercury in there. Batteries are highly toxic. And so these little villages are actually cesspits of pollution, killing people. And it's totally illegal, but we do it here. And a lot of companies, likewise, don't actually throw their IT equipment out. They just put it in the cupboard because they've got no way to dispose of it. So from green IT, it means actually having a strategy to remove your old IT equipment. Where does your old data center go when you buy a new one? Remove your old PCs and send them to have them ethically audited for recycling and disposal so that the materials can be used, some of the component chips can be reused, and the actual metal casings and just general scrap can be used again to make new products. And that one, if you read a lot of the vendor stories, EMC are designing all their new products to actually have components that can be taken off the board and reused in their next generation of equipment. Because one day, there won't be enough components left, or there'll be so much of this muck in landfills in the desert that it starts seeping out into the water supply.